who hasn't seen you on this station, that station, Good Morning Britain, Talk Radio? Going on a Channel 4 reality series opens up a whole new audience for you. How has it been having a whole new audience embrace Sophie?
It's been really nice because there's a lot of people who knew who I was coming in before, but they didn't really know me as a person. They just knew the person that they saw shouting at someone on the news over politics. They didn't know who I was as a person, or there was a lot of people that just didn't know me full stop. So it was a good opportunity to sort of reintroduce myself to the world of who I really am. And a lot of people were saying, you know, on the show, she's really different to what I thought she is.
There was another publication that labelled you as the most kind of evil contestant of the series, purely because of whatever, because of prior conceptions. Do you think that's fair, and how did you handle that going into the show?
Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not a controversial person when I'm working in the news. Of course, we all are. Everybody that works in politics is controversial in one way or another, because there are always going to be two sides to politics, and there are going to be a side that like you and there's going to be a side that hate you. So to a lot of people on the side that hate me, of course, they will see me as a controversial figure. I'm not saying that I wasn't. I kind of knew that that was probably going to be the reaction coming into it. But when I was on the show, I knew, you know what, people were going to think that about me coming into the show, but by the time the show's over and I show them who I really am and I tell them my story and they start to know me as a person, perhaps those ideas will change.
The social media abuse, and what's that like for you? Because at times it's so vitriolic, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the abuse I receive on social media is a lot worse than I think any other media commentator has received, and probably a lot worse than a lot of the contestants on the show that I was with have probably received as well. Most of it comes from before the show, but I mean, mine is, you know, it goes beyond people just disagreeing with what I say or what I do. Most of it is either about the way I look, calling me a witch, saying I look like a Burns victim, all of that kind of stuff. A lot of it is now, as I get more into politics, but as I get more public as well, it's just constant threats of violence. I mean, I can post a photo of me playing football on my social media, nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with whatever, and there'll be it's usually anonymous men, to be quite honest. Most of the time it's anonymous men saying, oh, someone go and break her legs, I want someone to do a bone crushing challenge, or people want to throw acid over me, or my emails, my DMs, my Twitter is just full of death threats or threats of violence as well. But it does sort of come out to the street as well. There's been times where I've been surrounded by a group of maybe, I think one time it's 8 lads and I was walking on my own. A girl literally walking on her own would come and surround me and was shouting, you know, especially for someone like me, I'm such an easy target for people. I'm young, I'm working class, I'm female, and I have learning difficulties. I'm such an easy target for them, so they go for me. Of course they're going to go for me. And I think a lot of people in the public eye will sit there and say, oh, we just ignore it. That's not true. That's complete, utter rubbish. You don't ignore it. It does impact you. I think there's been times where I've literally, I've spoken to you, where I've literally been in my room and felt physically sick because of the abuse I get on social media. I just felt like, you know what, I just can't carry on.
So I was going to ask, how does it make you feel? It's almost unimaginable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy because you're like, I'm literally 21. I just get up in the morning, talk about what I love to do, go to university. I'm a normal person in the same way everyone else is, in the same way every other... Football, futsal, in the same way every other 21-year-old is. But there's definitely been times, like, I'm pretty hard as nails, like, let's not get it twisted. But there's been times where I've literally felt sick, like genuinely ill, like I can't get out of bed, or like I just can't carry on anymore, to be fair, because everyone just hates you, and it's like, I haven't really done anything to deserve this. I've just literally spoken about what I think. When I was in Rise and Fall, I didn't for 1 minute think about what someone's saying about me on Twitter or what's going on, let me read my message. I didn't even want my phone at all. I didn't want my phone, I didn't require my phone at all. And that was also one of the hardest things about Rise and Fall as well, is that for me, I work in the news. I was on my phone 24/7 because news changes like that. Everything changes in politics. Nothing is the same for every 10 minutes. So to be away from that for 3 weeks, I missed so much. To have no clue what's going on in the outside world. For me, who works in news, who is so clued up on everything that's going on everywhere, that was really difficult. That was really disorienting, to not know A, what's going on in the world, B, what the time is, because at the time I think they were having a new First Minister of Scotland, and I used to be like, oh my God, well, who is the First Minister of Scotland? I don't know who it's going to be. But that was kind of challenging, to be away from the news and to be away from the world and not know what's going on in the world. That was probably the hardest bit about being in the basement. Out of all of, the no food was fine, the no showers was fine, the camaraderie was great. I mean, we knew that the penthouse was dreadful. None of us we would fight. What they didn't show in the show was, when it comes to the rise vote, we would literally fight to have the others not vote us to go up, because we didn't want to go to the penthouse, because although the conditions were bad in the basement, that wasn't as bad as the culture in the penthouse. And I think bad culture is much more worse than bad conditions. We were living our best lives in the basement. We were having such a great time, to the point where the producers were getting annoyed at us.
Yeah.
Like, they would actually take us out and be like, why are you not going to the penthouse? Because none of us wanted to go to the penthouse. Because we saw the penthouse was, is disgraceful. But the hardest part of being in the basement was not the showers, was not Jeff snoring, or Joas's snoring was even worse. Wasn't the tornado alarm, the lack of fresh air, the lack of light, the lack of food. It was not knowing what the time was.
Yeah.
That messed us all up so much, but still had a better time than the penthouse. Scoobing in there.